Thanks everybody for joining us tonight. My name is SES Victoria. I'm the Deputy Incident Controller working out of the Incident Control Centre at Bendigo. Tonight we've got with us Camille White. Camille is from the North Central Catchment Management Authority, and she's our local flood analyst and certainly expert on floodwaters. It's great to have her here. And we have Shannon Maynard from the local Shire here, and Shannon will talk about what the Campaspe Shire are doing. And I've just over here we've got Judy Cantwell from the local SES and Dan Moreland from the local CFA. So we're pretty much all working here together on this flood event. So just to give you a little bit of background on how the incident management team is set up. The way it works in Victoria, we come under the umbrella of Emergency Management Victoria, and within that incident management team, SES are the lead agency, but none of our emergency management agencies have enough resources to handle all the emergencies we get in Victoria, whether it's fire, floods, storm events, any of those sorts of things. So we all work together and help each other out. So my background is fire management, but I've worked in incident management teams a lot with fire. So I'm here to support the SES as all the other agencies in trying to help our communities. And basically our role is to support the people on the ground and to support the communities. So we'll just move around the table a bit, and I might get Camille to talk a little bit about what's happening with the flood at the moment, the background behind it when it first started, and some of the histories that's come through Rochester and moving towards Echuca as we speak. And Camille's has been dealing with this in this space for a long time and really understands our local floodwaters quite well. So I'll leave Camille to handle all the technical side of it because she's got a great deal of knowledge in that. So I might just pass over to Camille.
Thanks, Liz. To start off with, I just want to say that we've got some good news to share tonight. Firstly, floodwaters, they peaked in the Campaspe River at Rochester this morning, definitely less than what we were predicting, and it was just above the level of 114.6 metres. For those of you aware, that's much less than October 2022, in the order of 1.2 metres lower. So now this floodwater is making its way downstream to Echuca. It's currently about midway from Rochester to Echuca, and we're expecting the peak at the Campaspe River gauge, which this gauge is directly upstream of the Ogilvie Avenue. We're expecting that to peak tomorrow morning, roughly about 6 o'clock. So the Bureau don't provide official forecasts for this gauge, but we've done some estimates and we believe that the peak will reach around the moderate level of 94.4. This level is 1.8 metres lower, so it's 1.8 metres lower than what we had in October 2022. So it's great news. So at this level, there won't be any roads on the Campaspe River inundated. Ogilvie Avenue and Campaspe Boulevard won't be closed, and there's no need to sandbag those roads either. Also really good news is Warren Street and the roads to the new Echuca Bridge will remain open. I know that was certainly a concern back in October 2022. There will be some low-level areas next to the river, and there will be some rear yards of some private properties that may be impacted along the Campaspe River. Just to reiterate, there is not expected to be any overflow flooding of dwellings or businesses. And to reiterate, there's not expected to be any need for sandbagging of the levee banks along the Campaspe River in Echuca. I just want to point out that the municipal flood, we do have a municipal emergency flood plan for Echuca, but all the actions in that relate to the Echuca wharf gauge. So if you do have a copy of that, don't panic that a lot of work needs to be done at that level that I mentioned before. I just want to touch quickly on the Murray River. The Murray River itself is not particularly high, so that's great. So the Campaspe River will come through and get into the Murray River quite quickly. We do have some water there's some flooding in the Goulburn River that is currently, that may have some impacts on the townships of Shepparton and the like. It hasn't peaked there yet, and they're currently working through what that will mean, and I won't talk about that because we're focusing on Echuca. But that'll slowly make its way down into the Murray River. But the river level in the Murray is expected to remain below minor level. That's really important to note. So early predictions indicate that the river will be in the order of 2 to 3 metres lower. So it's 2 to 3 metres lower than October 2022. Actually, we're expecting a high river similar to what we experienced in January 2011, for those of you who were around then. So it's a high river. We are not expecting any overflow flooding of dwellings or businesses. This includes the Echuca village area, where floodwaters will be contained by the levee network. There may be some inundation of low-lying areas adjacent to the Murray River, and that certainly has the potential to impact camping areas along the river reserve. So that's for my update. I'll hand back to Les.
Thanks, Camille. I think probably something to keep in mind, that the water coming down the Goulburn is probably still 10 to 14 days away, so that will give us time for the water coming down the Campaspe River to clear away and head towards South Australia. And one of the problems we had in October 2022 was that the river was really running high, and as the waters reached particularly Campaspe, it couldn't get away once it got into Murray, so at least this time it will clear away. And similarly with the water coming down the Goulburn, had the same issues again. So time it gets here, the water out of Campaspe would have cleared, so looking so much better than what we were in October 2022. So we will certainly have some water lying around, particularly in the public lands surrounding the Murray, so we still could have some issues with mosquitoes and things like that, but at least the floodwaters are looking so much better than what they were 18 months ago, whenever it was. So it's great news. So, all right, thanks, Camille. I might pass on to Shannon to talk about what's happening with the municipality.
Thanks, Les, and thanks for the opportunity to speak. So Campaspe Shire Council yesterday opened up the Echuca Relief Centre. That's located at the Echuca Netball Complex at 246 to 250 High Street in Echuca. That has taken displaced residents from Rochester overnight and will continue to be open as required. That's open to Campaspe residents who are impacted by flooding. We've also opened a respite or a recovery centre effectively in Rochester at the 4Rs, the Rochester Racecourse Recreation Reserve at Dagora Road in Rochester. It has a number of agencies and support staff there, including mental health support. We'd encourage anyone that needs to present to see any of those agencies and get some support to that centre, and we can certainly facilitate and help you there. Thanks, Les.
Thanks, Shannon. I might get Judy to talk about what's happening with the local level with SES.
The SES at the moment are going to take delivery of pallets of sandbags ready filled and they will be coming in about 7:30 tonight. And from 7:30 to 9, if anybody wants sandbags, they can come through the SES unit and drive around the back and pick up some sandbags. There is a limit of 25 bags per household, and as I said, be mindful, it is only open between 7:30 and 9. And the 25 sandbags are basically to block doorways, toilets, sinks, to stop any water coming back up into your homes and to protect your homes. We have been doing some door knocking this afternoon just to give people some warning and give them some information that this conversation with the community was going to take place tonight, and just especially those people that may get that are along the Campaspe River. So I hope that everybody is safe and sound and protect everything. But if we can help you, just give us a call on 132500 and we can help you out and assist in any way. Thank you.
Thanks, Judy. And I'll also pass on to Dan from CFA. I just want to, before I do that, just want to say how lucky the Campaspe community are to have the volunteer network you've got with SES and CFA. I know they're almost co-located next to each other, but the work they do together is amazing, and the hours they put in of their own time and effort. I don't know how Judy sleeps, but it's just amazing that they do. The service they're providing with sandbagging is not required. They have an obligation to provide sand and to provide the bags, but it's really up to the public to fill their own bags by the requirements. But they're so good here, they are actually getting them filled for you if you do require them, because it's certainly hard work filling sandbags. So you're very, very fortunate to have such good volunteers in your community. So we've also invited Dan to talk as well, because they do work so close. As I mentioned earlier, none of our organisations have got capacity to handle all the emergencies we have. So it's great that we can come together and work together for the good of the community. So I'll just pass on to Dan. He'll just a quick update on what's happening in the local CFA.
No worries. Thanks, Les. Yeah, as Les said, Dan Moylan, Echuca CFA captain. We're just here to help out Judy and her team at the SES there, as we've done in last Tuesday night, doing a lot of pumping and helping the guys out there in that sense, and just helping door knocking, doing what we can do. We've been down to Rochester last night as well to help out the crews down there. So we look at it this way: we're one community. We're here for the community that we live in, and hopefully protect you one and all as best we can, and get through it all at the same pace and come out the other end. That's pretty well us.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, it's great the way you guys work in together. So it's probably one other one I want to touch base on from Colburn Water is just we're not anticipating any impacts at all with sewage or drinking water at all for Echuca. We did have some issues with the sewage system only in Rochester. There's a bit of confusion about the impact on drinking water, but that was just an incorrect interpretation of some wording. So there hasn't been any impact to drinking water at all in Rochi, and there won't be in Echuca. They've done some great work there protecting their systems last night. So some little issues with slowing down with the sewage system by turning off some pumps, which is a bit of a short-term pain for some long-term gain. So they were able to switch on all their pumps this morning, and they were working, whereas last year when it happened, or 2022, because their pumps got inundated, they were still energised. There was short-circuiting and all sorts of issues, and took some time to get back up and running. So I just want to reassure people, particularly in Rochester, if anybody's listening, that their drinking water will be fine. Some of it will be in Echuca, and at Rochester there still could be a bit of slow movement of some of the sewage stuff, but the next couple of days it will certainly improve. There is some portable toilets and showers set up in Rochester if anybody is having issues, but we're certainly not anticipating there's been much use for them, and certainly we don't anticipate that be that requirement in Echuca, which is great news. So, which is certainly better news than what we were looking at yesterday morning when I rocked into the Instant Control Centre, when we didn't have really good accurate figures on where things were going, but what we were looking at didn't look good at all. So so it's been quite positive for us. So I want to open up to any questions, Pauline, for coming in.
Thank you, Liz. So where does the community get the sandbags from if they want them?
As I said, we've got sandbags pre-filled that are going to arrive and they'll be available from 7:30 to 9 tonight. There's so many pallets, so there's a limited supply, and it'll be given preference to those who really need it first. We do have 6,000 sandbags at the unit, but they're not filled. So we can give out some sandbags. We don't have facility at our unit to hold sand. We do have a meter at the moment that we can fill at least 40 sandbags. So,
Do we have a location?
yes, our location is at 292 High Street, Echuca, so it's in between Echuca Search and Rescue and the CFA. So there's only one gateway in, so be mindful when you come in because it also supplies the CFAs for call-outs and things like that. So we need to make sure that we keep it clear as possible for them, for their emergencies as well. And we've opened up an exit for them so they can clear it and go out through the bowling club and the bowls club and come out that way. So keeps a clear traffic flow going.
I have another question. I'm not sure who to. Will the back 9 golf course be impacted?
Yes, it's looking like there will be some minor impacts to the golf course. There's a potential for a breakout flow to cross over one of the fairways, but certainly not the clubhouses themselves, just one of the fairways.
So that was a question about the back 9 golf course.
Just one around the Rochester Bridge. There's been some confusion whether that's open or closing.
We just drove over it, so hopefully it's open. So that was about the Rochester Bridge going uptown. So certainly earlier today there was water. I think the bridge itself might have been okay, but the water either side of it, which made it impassable. But yes, so there was a bit of a way around it. But now it's water has receded. We just came back through Rochester, and water has receded quite a bit. So it is came up fairly quickly, but it's also going down quickly. So which is great news.
Another question from our listeners. Has water stopped rising near Strathallan Northern Highway area?
So I might get Camille to answer that one. Yeah, so the question was about whether the water is still rising, the Strathallan Northern Highway. So there's quite a bit of water in the floodplain there on either side of the highway as it makes its way down. These early indications, we're not expecting the highway itself to be overtopped, but that water will make its way through some of the farming property, which is it's slowing it down. So the impacts that we're seeing, we actually have a map available. Make sure that we load that again after this meeting. But yeah, it's making its way through, and we're not expecting it. It's, as I said before, it's at least halfway towards Echuca now, and yeah, look, we didn't see any major flows coming down when we drove through, so yeah, it's just going to slowly work its way down.
Another question. Will Anderson Road near Campbell Road be affected?
We're not expecting that breakout to occur out that side.
Okay. Comment on rain expected next week. Will it impact?
There is some rain forecast for early next week. One of the problems we have this time of year is often thunderstorm driven, which is difficult to predict, as this last lot was. I think most places were probably expecting 20 to 30 mils, and we got up to 170 in some locations. So certainly that wasn't forecast, and that's one of the problems with thunderstorm rain. It's so hit and miss, but we don't think so. This water now should be cleared away by early next week. There might be some impact of if there's more coming locally in the Goulburn system, but at this stage we're not anticipating, unless we get some massive rain like we did in this last event, but surely it's going to run out soon. Can't be much left up there.
Thank you. Another question. Should houses at the back of Hicks Crescent, Martin Street sandbag their back gates?
So Camille, on back of Hicks Road and what was the one?
Hicks Court.
Hicks Court and
Hicks Crescent and Martin Street.
Hicks Crescent and Martin. Camille.
Yeah, our mapping is showing that water will come up to the backs of those properties because it's quite a steep drop off, but the mapping is showing that water will come up to the backs of their property but not enter into the properties themselves. Yeah, that's the information we have.
They keep coming, people. Can you get through Bendigo via the highway now?
We just did, so yes, we can confirm you're not driving through any floodwaters on the way to Bendigo. You can get through the whole way.
Okay. Will house
No. There might be some inundation along the property boundaries themselves where they border onto the Campaspe River, but certainly won't be coming into the properties enough to impact the houses themselves.
I think our scribes can't write quickly enough. Okay, will Campaspe Esplanade north of Ogilvy Avenue be impacted like in 2022?
No. So what the mapping is showing is the river level itself in that location is going to be 1.8 metres lower than what we got in October 2022. So that's 1.8 metres lower. So there's no need to sandbag the road. It'll be quite high there, but certainly not enough to overtop the road. This is Campaspe, we're talking about Campaspe Esplanade directly downstream of Ogilvy Avenue.
It's good that you've got this knowledge, Camille. Will Hayes Street or Redmond Street be impacted?
I believe the answer is no, because it's certainly not on the list that I've had, so no. That was Hayes Street and Redmond Street.
How high will levels at Echuca Wharf be with water coming from the Goulburn?
So we haven't got a prediction yet from the Bureau, but we've done some, we've worked with them and had some initial discussions. So the minor flood level at Echuca Wharf is 93.5. We're expecting somewhere between 92 and 93. So that's well below minor flood level. So you're looking in that level, probably closer, maybe even up to 93. And that's when I was saying before about January 2011, it was a high river that came down the river. So obviously there might be some impacts on falling trees and the like there, and obviously camping areas. But we're talking about that 92 to 93 in that sort of range. So it's very early. We can't predict until Shepparton peaks. Once Shepparton peaks, then we'll understand and be able to give an indication. We're expecting Shepparton peak in the next few days, and then following on from that, then we'll be able to, actually Shepparton will probably peak before then, but we'll know with some certainty by the end of the week what the peak in Echuca will be.
One more. How can people check if their street is impacted?
We've got a map that we prepared earlier today, so we're making it available. Shannon might be able to explain what website's the best one to get that off.
So the Campaspe website will have that information, that image on it. As you click onto the Campaspe website, there is a landing page for flood information. If you click through to that, that image will be there. And as well as other information that the council's been provided and is providing.
So at the moment, the image really just relates to the Campaspe River and what the impacts we're expecting tonight and into tomorrow. We'll provide a separate map once we have a firm indication of what's predicted along the Murray River.
I know I spoke earlier about the Rochester Bridge. There's just another, there's a question around, could you please clarify it, because Big Traffic says it is still closed. I know you said you drove over it.
Yep, and there are no road closed on it, so probably just a delay in getting that onto the computer. So sometimes we do those delays. The water has receded quite quickly, so that's probably why I just hadn't had a chance to update that.
So just on that point, there is still some water over the approach road on the western side of the bridge in Rochester. However, there's a bypass where you can hook around that low point in the road.
I've got two more. Will Haygarth Street off Campaspe Esplanade be impacted?
Not from the Campaspe River, no. There might be some, when the Murray, once we have some understanding of what the Murray is doing, there may be some slight backwatering back up the sort of the low depressions, but that's still not enough to affect any overflow flooding of the houses there. There might be some inundation, not over Warren Street, but just backing up those low depressions.
Will the peak in Echuca affect Rochi again?
No. Water, obviously there's a fair, it can't back up that high. It's just not possible for water to back up that high.
And I think this is really my last question. Will Matheson Road be affected?
No. So certainly not the approaches for any of there might be, obviously there's going to be some inundation right down the bottom end. Obviously the bottom end closer to the Anna Branch and the Campaspe River itself, but we're certainly not expecting water to be over the road in that location.
Okay, this is my final one. Will Murray Valley Highway to Shepparton be open tomorrow?
Or is it shut?
But we know it's not shut at this stage, and with the levels we're expecting, we can't see that it will be. It's probably going to be more impacted when the Goulburn comes down in a week's time, but at this stage we can't, not anticipating that will be an issue, particularly with the water coming down the Campaspe. It's not going to be high enough to cause any problems out that wide, so we've probably got another week to look at that and we'll see what happens, how much comes down the Goulburn system. All right, and thanks for all those questions coming in, and hopefully you've got some insight into what's happening, and if in doubt at all, get onto the council's website, and so it's got lots of good information there, and we'll try and keep that updated as well, which is great. So thanks very much for joining us online tonight, and hopefully tomorrow goes well.